All right, good morning and welcome to the 294th District Court. My name is Chris Martin. I'm going to call this morning's criminal docket. When you hear your name, please say present or here. Misty Backus, Gustavo Castillo. Court's received to know that Mr. Castillo is having car issues and waiting for someone to pick him up and bring him to court. So we'll recall his case. Tammy Crocker. Noemi Esquivel. Charles Hairston. Letitia Hill. Mandy Jones. Louis Leha. Amber Morphus. James O'Brien. Ashley Olds. Miss Olds is appearing via Zoom with court's permission, and she is in the waiting room. Lena Price. Keith Pryor. Mr. Pryor is in custody in Florida. We'll recall that case. I believe that there is a detainer on Mr. Pryor. Jake Wilson. Bryce Brewer. Christian Berkwin. LaJasmine Woods. And I saw Mr. Hyde. They're outside talking, aren't they? Okay. So Mr. Hyde is, I believe, standing in for Mr. Allen today. Trevor Blackman. Crystal Box. Randy Chavez Torres. I believe Mr. Torres is verified in custody in Hunt County, Mr. Manning, so we'll recall that one. Sean Davis. Jimmy Overstreet. Rachel Harrelson. Timothy Hubbard. Timothy Wade Hubbard. Jose Molina. William Phillips. Mr. Phillips is verified in custody in Kaufman County, Mr. Manning. We'll recall that. Patrick Rowe. Bobby Shaw. Bobby Jean Shaw. Ricky Serta. Dustin Dupree. Thank you, Mr. Warner. All right, is there anyone who's in the courtroom and you believe that your name was on the docket, but it's not been called, or you expect to be in another courtroom? All right, we have any counsel that's ready? Mr. Weiner, you ready? Yes. Mr. Dupree? CR 23-210-211-212. State versus Dustin Lee Dupree. I believe we're set for pretrial, Mr. Weiner.
That's correct. State and I worked for several months to make sure I had all this there. There was a phone that had to like actually getting the world, so I picked up a dump truck, have all this separated.
All right, court finds there being no pretrial motions that are contested at this time. The court will set this matter for docket call. Mr. Weiner, are you available either July 9th or 11th?
I can make the 9th work.
9th? Okay. All right, Mr. Dupree, court sets you for docket call July 9th at 9 a.m. He's excused.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Weiner. Good to see you. Any other counsel ready? Mr. Hawkins? Mr. Brewer, go come forward, please. This is cause numbers CR 23-203, CR 24-3, State versus Bryce Andrew Brewer for docket call. Go ahead, Mr. Hawkins.
Say that for agreement for a plea, we said today, I think today for the
Are you needing any time, any specific time or just next available? Okay. Court will set Mr. Brewer then for plea before the court July 9th at 9 a.m. Is it a 9 a.m. plea or a 1:30 plea? 9 a.m. Once he signs his notice, he's free to go. Yes, thank you, Mr. Hawkins. Good to see you. Any other counsel ready? Train, you ready? Who would you like to call first? Crystal Lynn Box, CR 24-41. Ms. Box, if you'll come forward, please. Ms. Box is set for pretrial. Go ahead, Mr. Manning.
Judge, at this point in time, we have no contested pretrial issues. We have not at this point received I believe we've not received an offer in this case. So we were not, ready to move on to docket call. We were requesting an offer in this case. It was the point to accept one.
State have a position on that?
there are things for Steve.
All right, and if an offer is going to be made, I ask that it be made with enough time that Mr. Manning and Ms. Box can give serious consideration of that before our docket call. You want July 11th, Mr. Manning? Are you available?
Did you believe I am? If I need to check. Judge, I may have a potential training. Let's make it set. It's possible to set this up on the court member. That training does.
All right, court sets Ms. Box for docket call July 11th at 9 a.m. And once she signs her notice, she's free to go.
Judge, next are your Officer Sean Davis.
Sean Ray Davis, if you'll come forward, Mr. Davis, this is cause numbers CR 23-95, CR 23-207, CR 23-208, CR 23-209.
Judge, I've had an opportunity to go over the discovery at the DA's office. After going over the discovery complaint, and that had a meeting. And we are pursuing the need for a expert witness retaining that request to be set pre-trial for us to retain.
Will that expert be needed for a contested hearing or just for trial?
Judge, it may be for a contested hearing.
July 11th?
Yes, Judge.
All right, court's going to set Mr. Davis then for status on defense expert witness. July 11th at 9 a.m. Once Mr. Davis signs the notice, he's free to go. Who you want next?
Judge, ready on Haroldson.
Rachel Danielle Haroldson, CR 22-377. Ms. Haroldson set for pretrial.
Yes, Judge, we reviewed, and don't have any tested amount at this time. We received an offer on our case, however, I've not had the opportunity to discuss that. The request we set for Dr. Paul as, we end up reaching a plea agreement with the court.
All right, court sets Ms. Harrelson for docket call July 11th at 9 a.m. Once she gets her notice, she's free to go.
Judge, I've been informed that I believe I'm being appointed on this bill case. We might have to set her, I'll go over to the further.
All right, Letitia Hill, CR 18146, CR 18147. All right, the court finds that Ms. Hill has requested court-appointed attorney. The court, after reviewing the affidavit of indigency, finds her to be indigent for purposes of the Sixth Amendment. The court hereby appoints the Honorable Jonathan Manning to represent Ms. Hill. Court finds that Ms. Hill is set for, I think, motion to revoke. Yeah, motion to revoke in each case. We will reset Ms. Hill today. Be available on the next evidentiary would be July 30th.
Yes, Judge.
All right, court sets Ms. Hill for the contested docket on July 30th at 9 a.m.
And Judge, that's, I am just being appointed in court today if we're unable to reach an agreement at that point in time, we expected to have this hearing, we give a little more time to prepare.
Since we're setting it for, I would say we go ahead and set it for contested hearing that day. So if there's no agreement reached, then we'll have a contested hearing on the 30th.
Judge, anything else? Oh, none?
Here you go, Mr. Avery. Mr. Molina, you'll come forward. All right, this is cause number CR 24-27, State versus Jose Angel Molina for pretrial.
Judge, we were ready to move forward, Dr. Paul, however, we've not received an offer on this case. I asked that one of us were to be extended that be done prior to Dr. Paul.
Is there any offer extended by the state? While the state's reviewing that, court finds that there are no contested pretrial motions. The court will set Mr. Molina for docket call July 11th.
Your Honor, I did extend an offer, with the six, look toward like, the offer over this that I extended.
Yeah, if you'll go ahead and communicate it to Mr. Manning.
Yeah, 6 for.
I apologize. Okay, that's fine.
All right, and Mr. Molina, I show that you are delinquent on your pretrial release fees. Are you able to make a payment today? Okay, how much can you pay tomorrow? Okay, all right. I'm gonna take you at your word. All right, once Mr. Molina signs his notice, he's free to go.
And Judge, I would have reported that I did receive it on the state. I apologize, just to make my document.
No problems.
I follow your representative state on that piece.
July 11th. Who's next?
Judge, if we may call Mr. Patrick Rowe.
Patrick Ray Rowe, CR 23-116-117. All right, Mr. Rowe is set for pretrial.
Yes, Judge, at this time, we don't have test pre-trial, where, and we're ready.
All right, court finds no contested pretrial motions. Sets Mr. Rowe for docket call July 11th at 9 a.m. And Mr. Rowe, I show that you're delinquent on your pretrial release fees. Are you able to make a payment today? When's that going to be?
Judge, he reports, at the, pretrial release office to Ms. Clark. At the court.
After court today? Okay, so you're gonna pay him today. That's what I was looking for. Okay.
The two things I have, paperwork.
Mr. Shaw, you're free to go. Once you got your notice, you're free to go.
Mr. Blackman, I have paperwork, we'll go with that. And then, Mr. Hubbard, if I manage, something, let's see if I can contact.
Yes, sir. So you said Blackman's a plea.
Yes, sir.
Let's go ahead and call your ones that are in custody, and we can reset those.
Oh, yes, sir.
Court call CR 2446, State of Texas versus Randy Arnaldo Chavez Torres, set for arraignment. We verified that on 6/11 he was in custody in Hunt County. We'll reset that for status of custody for July 11th at 9 a.m. I believe there's one of yes, William Phillips, cause number CR 2480, was verified in custody on June 11th in Kaufman County. Court resets Mr. Phillips for status of custody to July 11th. All right, Mr. Rainey. I believe that's the only two that I had. And then, so Mr. Shaw's this afternoon. And then, okay, we'll see you back here in just a few minutes on Mr. Blackman, and maybe you can get a hold of Mr. Hubbard.
Thank you.
Mr. Schmidt, you ready on anyone? Ricky Serta, CR 22-371. Mr. Serta set for pretrial. Go ahead, Mr. Schmidt.
Correct.
All right, court sets Mr. Serta for docket call. Be available July 9th. All right, court sets Mr. Serta July 9th at 9 a.m. Once he signs his notice, he's free to go. Okay. That all you have, Mr. Schmidt? Mr. Manning? Who do you have?
We have one more, we said, to oversee.
Jimmy Overstreet, CR 23-239.
Judge, we request time for additional investigation, have it, scheduled for June 21st. We request to be set on July 11th docket. I spoke with the state, they want to, keep their offer open, pending this further investigation.
What were we set for today?
Judge,
Was it a-
we were set for a plea, at the jail.
And paperwork wasn't prepared, Your Honor, of that in mind until we received notice from Mr. Manning that there was some, to request some time. But I did want to make it clear, as he just stated, that the offer will be available. Next court date begins reset early. Beyond that, the offer will be revoked at the start of the.
All right, court will reset Mr. Overstreet for final docket call on July 11th. And so if he doesn't enter his plea that day, I'll set him for trial.
Yes, sir. And I've made some aware of court's policy on a docket call. And the understanding of the court.
Thank you, Mr. Manning.
Can be excused.
Yes, good to go. All right, court's going to call some sanction court hearings. Jake Wilson. All right, this is cause number CR 20-277, sanctions court hearing for Jake Wilson. All right, Mr. Wilson. Looks like you've been in compliance for quite a while now, so I'm going to remind you that you're to pay $120 in probation fees, $80 to court collections, and work 30 hours of community service. That's what you've hang on just a second. Ms. Burns, let me ask. Oh, so. Look like that. All right, Mr. Wilson. So 10 hours community service, $80 to court collections, 120 to the probation department. And I'm going to release you from sanctions court today.
Midnight, probation, safety to the court.
Yeah, I see that. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I want you to just go meet with your probation officer. I'm going to release you from sanctions court today. So I'm ordering you to comply with your conditions of community supervision. All right. So the numbers are not adding up to me either. So yeah, go talk to her and just go back to complying with your original conditions. And whatever your probation officer tells you is what you need to do to try to get caught up. Do that. Okay. All right, you're free to go. You're welcome. Are you ready? You're ready? Christian Kane Berkwin, CR 24-2, CR 23-202. See how you got over. Mr. Hyde, did you go over the conditions of community supervision with Mr. Berkwin? Oh, you have? That's okay. He can sign them in the back. As long as he's gone over them, that's fine. Well, hang on, let's get the state involved. So if they have an objection, approach state. Yeah, let him get up here so he knows what you're saying. Go ahead.
It's just one of the bus cases from gasoline. It's getting deferred restitution. The boys are joint severally liable for paying for their bus. That being said, I would ask in this case, maybe community service lane works extra to get money to Grand Saline School District faster. Requested that. $59,000 restitution.
Yeah, unfortunately, I'm not gonna waive community service. Is he aware of what the hours of community service that he's going to be doing? All right. All right, Mr. Berkwin, if you'll raise your right hand, I'm going to place you under oath. Sir, do you swear that the testimony you give to the court today would be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God. Thank you. You can lower your hand. Your name is Christian Kane Berkwin, is that correct? And Mr. Berkwin, are you a United States citizen who reads, writes, and speaks English? Have you ever been diagnosed with any type of mental condition? In this case, you're represented by your attorney, Mr. Heath Hyde. Are you pleased with Mr. Hyde as your attorney? Do you feel like you've had enough time to talk with him about the case and you've had all of your legal questions answered? You understand everything that you've read and signed as part of your plea agreement? And do you have any questions before we go further? All right, Mr. Hyde, do you believe that Mr. Berkwin is competent to enter into this plea agreement? And if so, that he's doing so intentionally, knowingly, and voluntarily?
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Berkwin, you are charged by indictment with a third-degree felony offense of theft of property greater than $30,000 but less than $150,000. That does carry a range of punishment of not less than 2 years or more than 10 years confinement in prison and a fine not to exceed $10,000. I see the plea agreement in your case is that upon your pleading guilty to this crime, the state's recommending that the court review the evidence but not find you guilty at this time, but place you on 10 years community supervision, ordering you to pay restitution in the amount of $59,669.84 to be paid joint and several with cause numbers CR 24-3, CR 23-200, and CR 23-201. I presume those are the co-defendant cases?
Yes.
In addition, you would be responsible for court cost of $290, reimbursement fees of $35, and restitution would be paid to Grand Saline ISD. Is that your understanding of the agreement? All right, Mr. Berkwin, then how do you plead to theft of property greater than $30,000, less than $150,000?
Yep.
Are you pleading guilty to that crime because you are in fact guilty of committing that crime? Mr. Berkwin, has anybody threatened, forced, or pressured you to plead guilty? Court does accept the defendant's plea of guilt. Mr. Hyde, any objection to the stipulation of evidence?
Nope.
Stipulation of evidence is admitted and the court takes judicial notice of the defendant's judicial confession. Is there anything further from the state?
Nothing.
Is Greenstein ISD supportive of this plea?
Yes.
Thank you. All right, court is going, anything further from the defense?
No, you're-
All right, court's going to review the evidence. I'm going to take out this waiver of in-person hearing since we are having an in-person hearing. All right, the court, having reviewed the evidence, finds enough evidence to convict Mr. Berkwin of this offense. The court follows the agreement made by the prosecutors and the defendant. Court hereby defers a finding of guilt on the charge of theft of property greater than $30,000, less than $150,000. Places Mr. Berkwin on 10 years community supervision, orders him to pay restitution to Grants Lane ISD in the amount of $59,669.84. Court orders that restitution to be joint and several with any judgment in cause number CR 24-3, CR 23-200, and CR 23-201. Court finds that the other co-defendants in the case are Bryce Brewer, Trevor Blackman, Hudson Griffin, and Daytona Blue. So I have a question here. So I've got 3 co-defendants listed not by name, but by cause number, but there's 4 co-defendants listed in the stipulation of evidence. Is there a reason for that?
No, you're on the, we may just need to add a cause number.
See, CR 24-3 is Mr. Brewer. Can you tell me who is CR 23-200? And 201?
Your Honor, here's, so that would be Mr. Blackman, so it appears we need to add, cause number CR 23-260.
CR 23.
260.
Any objection by the defense? All right, so the court will find that restitution shall be paid joint several with cause numbers CR 23-3, CR 23-200, CR 23-201, and CR 23-216. Court orders Mr. Berkwin to pay court costs of $290, reimbursement fees of $35. All right, Mr. Burke, when you're hereby remanded to the custody of the probation department, so they can take out terms and conditions of the sentence, I'm gonna have you come forward to be fingerprinted with Deputy Martinez. After that, you'll meet with the probation officers and they'll give you more information. What'd you do to your foot?
Something to hold on Memorial Day weekend at the earliest and fractured it and so forth. And I
Not
had
good.
surgery last Friday.
Goodness, be careful. Yeah, I'm trying to. Is it not popping up on my? All right, Mr. Woods, if you'll come forward, with Jasmine Woods, CR 2410. Court finds that Mr. Hyde is standing in for Mr. Allen today. And I believe that we were set for a plea today, but any announcements, go ahead, Mr. Hyde.
Your Honor. File a motion to recode the case. Finish off this. Based on discussions with him. Pretty certainly it's gonna be a plea. I just want to be able to review the information. It's all took place starting on Monday. I would ask for it to be live. Couldn't set it.
Any objection from the state?
Is another one of Ms. Curry's cases, so I'm not aware of any objection that she would have, but I'm sure she put that out with Mr. Landon.
And I reached out to her this morning. But I haven't.
All right, court will reset. Mr. Woods, I think we were set for pretrial and then it was going to be a plea. So what I'll do is I'll set it for a docket call. That way, if there's no plea reached, then I can set him for trial. July 9th to 11th. All right, court sets Mr. Woods for docket call, July 11th. And that'll be a final docket call, Mr. Hyde, meaning that if there's no agreement reached, then we'll just set for trial that day. If there's agreement, yes, let the state know so they can prepare the paperwork and we can plead him out that day. You're welcome. Once he signs and gets his notice, he's free to go. Yes, you're excused. Oh, hang on. You know what? That's not there on Mr. Berkman. That. All right. Okay. Tammy Crocker. All right, the sanctions court hearing, State versus Tammy, Diane Crocker. Ms. Crocker, I'll find that you did pay your court order fees to restitution and to probation. So I'm going to reset you again for another sanctions court for compliance. Let's come back July 11th. We'll do the same thing, $90 to probation, 100 to restitution. Okay. All right, Ms. Abraham's going to bring you a notice. Once you sign that, you're free to go. Mandy Jones. All right, Ms. Jones is here for sanctions court, cause number CR 17-97. Ms. Jones, I see that you complied with your payments to probation to the court. You did you did your 10 hours and you completed all of your hours of community service. So, in total, 350 hours of community service. Long time in it. But you got it done. It's doable when you commit to it, isn't it? Where did you do all or most of your community service? First Monday. Good to have that behind you. Get some time back in your own life, huh? Good. Let's see here. Probation department has noted that you've been in compliance every month since August of 23 to today. And so it says here that they're recommending that you be released from sanctions court. So I'm going to follow their recommendation and just remind you, just continue to pay your 65 to probation and your 55 to court collections, and just go back to regular reporting with your probation officer. Okay. All right. So the next time I want to see Mandy Jo Jones will be on a piece of paper that says she's off of probation. All right. Excellent. All right. You're free to go. James O'Brien. This is his eighth file. How much? Yeah. Same. Okay. All right, Mr. O'Brien, this is sanctions court hearing, cause number CR 2301. Looks like you paid your probation fees, your court collection fees, you did your 10 hours community service. Everything looks great. Is that delinquency in court costs or probation? It doesn't say. Which one's not right here? These two right here. Okay. All right, Mr. O'Brien. I'm trying to figure out how to get you off of sanctions court, because you're meeting your sanctions. You're doing that. You're doing well on that. But you're still quite a bit delinquent on your probation fees and your court collections. So in order to try to avoid having you be in sanctions court until you get caught up on your delinquencies, which would be a long time. My question is can you pay more than what you've been paying? Or are you at where how much do you think that you can pay? Because this is what I'm asking, all right? And I don't want you to tell me what you think I want to hear. I want you to tell me what you can reasonably do to try to get caught up all the delinquencies that doesn't put you behind. Because what I don't want to do is you get behind, tell me that you can do something that you can't do. Because ultimately what I like to do is if we can have you pay more and I can see that you're going to get those delinquencies down, say in the next 3 months. Let's say if you paid more in the next 3 months and we're getting your delinquencies down, then I'd be willing to let you off of sanctions court, but I don't want to set you up for failure. So what do you think you could pay reasonably? And if you want to look at your finances and come back at next sanctions court and have that discussion, then we can do it then also. So right now you're doing 65 to probation and you're doing 60 to court collections. You're more behind you're more delinquent in your court collections and you're paying less there. You're saying 85 towards what? You can do 100 for each one of them? Okay. And you don't believe that that'll set you behind? All right, so this is what I want to do, game plan, okay? So let's come back on July 11th and let's do 100 to probation, 100 to the court collections, and 10 hours community service. And this is what I'll commit to you. If you'll do that for the next 3 months without us having any problems, then July, August, September. So in September, I'll let you out of sanctions court. That way you got something a goal that you can work towards. Now that means that once I let you out of sanctions court, you need to continue paying that same amount. Make sense? Okay. All right. So 100 to court and probation, 10 hours community service. Misty Backus. All right, Misty, looks like you paid your probation fees, came up short on your court collection fees by about $50. Did all of your community service. Missed a couple of sessions on your weekly counseling. Says that you had migraines. Is that right? You suffer from migraines? Are you on medication for those at all, or how does that work? You are. Why did you come up short on your court collections? All right, Misty, I'm going to bring you back July 11th. Let's do the same thing, 65 to probation, 115 to the court, 24 hours of community service. So you're set to expire in April of next year. So you're getting pretty close towards the end. So just know that these amounts that we're setting is to try to get you to expire at the right time. And if you fall further behind, then it's going to result in an extension, which is going to cost you more money. Okay. So we'll see you back on 7/11. And so make sure that you're doing your weekly counseling too. Okay. Lena Price. All right, Lena, let's see here. last time you were in court, we ordered $70 to probation, $65 to court collections, worked 10 hours community service, and we did a 3-day jail buyback. And it looks like you paid your probation, you paid your court collections, and it says here that you did not do your 10 hours community service.
And my dad was in the hospital, and the hospital for a while now, and maybe they didn't have a problem, someone's passed away on it. And so I was working there, so then I talked to the city hall, Department of Community Services, and she said, I did community service. Yesterday, I did 4 years to 8 hours, and we're gonna start with community service for like a week. Get everything up. And I could go, if I could go here to the probation office and pay $6 because on the computer, when you pay for internet, it says $60, now it's only $70.
So on your 10 hours community service, you said that you did 2 and somewhere, and then you did 8, and you did all that. I mean, is this wrong?
I
That-
did 2.5 hours, she emailed it to the Senate, in Hunt County, and then initially I did 8 hours. So you could do yesterday, 3 hours, I did 8 hours.
So yesterday,
Yes, sir, I did 8 hours.
so you know that's past the deadline.
Yes, sir, I was in the hospital, my dad was having surgery and stuff, and it was raining, and they wanted me to go where it rained, but, we did talk about the lady Lisa at, City Hall, the appointment where the community service, that we could do it twice a week. Instead of once a month.
All right, I'm gonna bring you back on July 11th. You're ordered to do $70 to probation, 65 to court collections, 10 hours community service. I'm going to give you some leniency since you said that your dad was in the hospital. I want you to bring something showing that to your probation officer, okay? Showing that he was in the hospital. You do that, and then I'll give you leniency for not having your 10 hours community service done by the deadline.
Home health care too, I need something showing that needs, it's no lie, that it's the truth.
Well, I just want you to show your probation officer that he was in the hospital. Okay,
Yes, sir.
all right, so 10 hours community service, 65 to court collection, 70 to probation. We'll come back on July 11th.
Got it, yes, sir.
You too. Louis Leha. All right, let's see here. It says that last time you were in sanctions court, we talked about what you needed to have done before today, and that was 2 things. Pay $60 to probation and work 30 hours of community service. It says that you did 21.5 hours of community service and you did pay your probation fees. Why did you come up short on the 30 hours?
Voter base, that's what. So I think that's where. Maybe we are short staffed. Probably. I'll be able to.
Yeah, I can't remember why we got 60. A two, a two. Guess I've dropped it. I guess it's even dropped. So we're gonna get that one. And it should try. All right, so this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna. You told me and I told you that if you didn't meet your sanctions, that you're gonna have to do a day in jail for the ones that you don't satisfy. Okay, so you're going to serve 1 day in jail. I'll let you pick that day so that it doesn't interfere with your job. We need to get you caught up on your probation fees. So I'm going to bring you back on July 11th. And so to get you caught up, I need you to pay 120 to probation.
I did not remember, but 3 days ago. And I did that like the beginning of the week.
Okay. All right. I'm going to take you at your word for it. $60 to probation. And then 30 hours of community service. So I'll let you pick your day in jail, $60, and then 30 hours community service. And get your community service done by Friday before July 11th, okay? So that means you're on a shortened month, so you gotta get on that. Mr. Layot, Mr. Layot, did y'all catch him? Go get him. He's gotta come back here and do his jail time. You gotta come back here and sign up for your day in jail. Otherwise, we won't know when to send you and you won't know when to go. So there, I'm gonna let you pick your day in jail and then I'll sign an order. And then you'll be free to go. Ms. Escobar. All right, see, you had a 3 day buyback. So you paid your 300 to the clerk, that's good. It says you failed to comply, it says you failed to pay your 175 for probation.
That's what the papers.
120. You have your notes from the last court date. What about your community service? And so you got all 30? Because they're only showing 10. All right, do me a favor, come back here and have a seat and tell that to Miss Burns so that she can confirm that, okay? Please gotta talk. Will you give that to Karen so that they can work that out? Amber Morphus. All right, Amber, let's see. You paid your 65 for probation. It says that you did not pay your court collection. Is that right?
Paid 100 for probation, taxes right up here with my money, and they put the whole thing on probation. I didn't know that.
What about your community service? And when did you turn that in?
Turned in on Monday, the guy, you know, or the over rodeo, he had bags in for me. Because I couldn't get a ride up here to turn it in.
And that was this Monday of this week? And was it to this probation? Do you report here or do you report somewhere else? Sure. You said you did at the rodeo? Which rodeo where? Cranston. And when you paid your fees, what date did you do that on? Before the court date last time?
Thursday, it was Tuesday.
The Tuesday after the last court, before this one, or the Tuesday before the last court date?
Tuesday.
Did that money get applied to your last sanctions court? Okay, come over here and have a seat. Will you check all this stuff out too? All right, good morning, Ms. Olds. Can you see and hear me? Oh, can you hear me okay? No? It says that you're, okay, now you should be able to. Yeah, go ahead and unmute right there. Okay, can you see and hear me now?
I can.
Can you see and hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can't hear you. I'm not sure why.
Give me
Let's
one
see
second.
here. Let me change one thing. All right, say something now.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, now I've got you. Excellent. Okay. All right, sorry about that. All right, I see here that on your sanctions court, it says you paid your 166 to probation. It says that you did not pay your court collections. Is that right or wrong?
No, I did. I paid them on the 10th. I have an email confirmation.
You paid it on the 10th of this month?
Yes, sir.
And how much did you pay?
130.
130. All right. And tell me, Ashley, did you pay in May also?
I did.
All right. Do you have a receipt for that as well?
Well, the payment for the 10th was actually the payment for May.
Okay.
I was just late, is what it was.
So the 130 was for May.
Yes,
So
sir. Yeah.
you don't have, so are you a month behind, is what you're saying?
Well, no, I still have 2 weeks to make those 2 payments for June. Can you give me the total amount for probation in court?
Yeah, in just a second. Miss Burns is checking out something else for me. I'm showing what I show on my paper, and it may not be accurate because if you paid this week, it's probably not been applied because they run all this stuff, last week, or they run
Right.
it on like Monday. So, but it may be accurate, it may not, but let me just double check. But right now, what I'm showing is a balance of 369 on court collections. And it's saying something about your delinquent 268. But I'll tell you what, if you hang on just a second, I'll find out and give you some very accurate numbers. All right.
Okay.
All right, hang on just a second.
All right. It should be 239. Daryl. Daryl. I know we fucking.
Ms. Olds, remember that we're in court and you're on YouTube. All right, Ms. Olds. I'm showing 369 in court cost. The clerks are showing your last payment was April 2nd. I'm sorry. Yeah, April 2nd.
So they're not showing the.
Unless it's not posted yet, they're showing your last payment was $123 on April 2nd.
Well, I do have an email confirmation that
Well,
shows
and if it hasn't processed, then you have that, so you can subtract your amount if
239.
and
yeah.
so, and then your delinquent and probation fees, 268 is what they're showing.
So that's the total payoff for that.
268 for probation fees, delinquency.
And then, okay,
And then 369 minus whatever payment you have a receipt for.
okay,
Okay. So you're set to expire next month. Let's see, is that right? Yeah.
on the 26th.
Yep, on the 26th. So it says you must pay 333. I guess that's 268 plus your next reporting, your delinquency plus your current reporting fees. It says 333 to probation, 369 to court collections. Obviously, if you have a receipt that shows you paying your court collections, you can subtract that. That should give you
Okay.
your total. Okay.
Okay,
So the best thing to do, my advice, let's come back on July 11th. Okay. And if you can pay everything that week, then obviously you'll be done. But my advice would be to when you pay the clerk office, to have your receipt show a zero balance, and then get with the probation department and ask what it takes to get a zero balance with them, and reconcile any payments that you've made that they're not showing.
okay,
All right.
all right.
So we'll see you back on July 11th,
9 a.m., right?
9 a.m. Yes.
All right.
Why don't you want to come in person? Because you could,
Yeah, is that on a Thursday or is that on a Tuesday?
that is on a Thursday.
Do you have a Tuesday available? I'm off on Tuesdays.
Yeah, we can do the 9th. Is that
Okay,
better? And
that's better.
then that way, if you get everything taken care of that day, we can do an order dismissing and you can get that in your hand.
All right, thank you.
All right, we'll see you on the 9th.
Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm. Mr. Castillo? Is Mr. Castillo here? No? All right. Um, Charles Hairston, CR 2472. All right, good morning, Mr. Hairston. Let's see, Mr. Hairston, looks like you've been indicted with a theft of property greater than $300,000, a first-degree felony. First-degree felony in Texas does have a range of punishment of not less than 5 years or more than 99 years or life confinement in prison, and a fine not to exceed $10,000 potential fine. It's my understanding that based on your indictment that you intend to hire an attorney. Is that correct? If I reset this case for at least 30 days, will that give you time to hire an attorney? What if I set you middle of August, say August 13th or 15th? One of those better? One's a Tuesday, one's a Thursday? 15th? The other option I could give you is August 27th. It's a little bit later. It's a Tuesday.
Yes.
That better? All right, court's going to reset Mr. Harrison for arraignment on August 27th. And that'll be at 9 a.m. And so, Mr. Harrison, once you retain that attorney, then just make sure that they file a letter of appearance or letter of representation with the court. So we'll send them notice of your hearings. Have you met with him yet? Okay. All right, Mr. Harrison, you've already met with Mr. West and you signed your conditions of pre-trial release, correct? All right, you understand all of those? All right, we'll see you back on August 27th at 9 AM, all right? You're welcome, you're free to go. She's not happy, is she? Make a note of that. Miss Esquivel not happy when leaving courtroom. All right, this is cause number CR 23-200, State of Texas versus Trevor Troyce Blackman. Mr. Blackman, if you'll raise your right hand, I'm gonna place you under oath. Sir, do you swear that the testimony you give to the court today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? Thanks, sir. You can lower your hand. Your name is Trevor Troyce Blackman, correct? And Mr. Blackman, are you a United States citizen who reads, writes, and speaks English? Have you ever been diagnosed with any type of mental condition? You say no or yes? No? Did you say no? You got to say something out loud. You can't shake your head. No, sir. Okay. In this case, okay, I appreciate it. All right, Mr. Blackman, you're represented by your attorney, Mr. Manning. Are you pleased with Mr. Manning as your attorney? Do you feel like you've had enough time to talk with him about your case and that you've had all of your questions answered? Is there anything about the paperwork that you've read and signed today that you do not understand? Mr. Manning, do you believe Mr. Blackman to be competent? And if so, that he's entering into this plea agreement intentionally, knowingly, and voluntarily?
I do believe it's competent to accept both entry into the term of motion. And I believe he is.
All right, Mr. Blackman, you are charged by indictment with the third-degree felony offense of theft of property greater than $30,000, less than $150,000. If you were to be tried for that case, the range of punishment would be not less than 2 years or more than 10 years confinement in prison, and you could have an optional possible fine not to exceed $10,000. I see the plea agreement in your case. It's based on the recommendation from the state that the court consider the evidence but not convict you today, but place you on 10 years community supervision, ordering you to pay restitution in the amount of $59,669.84 to Grand Saline ISD, with that restitution being paid joint and several with the other co-defendants in your case. Those co-defendants being Mr. Bryce Brewer, Mr. Hudson Griffin, Mr. Christian Berkwin, and Mr. Daytona Blue. In addition, you're responsible for court costs of $290, reimbursement fees for $570. Is that your understanding of the plea agreement, Mr. Blackman? And Mr. Blackman, then I'm going to ask you, how do you plead to theft of property greater than $30,000, less than $150,000? Are you pleading guilty to that crime because you are in fact guilty of committing that crime? Has anybody threatened, forced, or pressured you to plead guilty? All right, court does accept the defendant's plea of guilt. Mr. Manning, any objection to the stipulation of evidence? Stipulation of evidence is admitted and the court takes judicial notice of the defendant's judicial confession. Anything further from the state? Court notes in a previous case of a co-defendant that the state indicated that Grand Saline ISD is supportive of this plea. All right. Court, having already reviewed the evidence, finds that there is sufficient evidence to convict Mr. Blackman of this offense. The court defers a finding of guilt, places Mr. Blackman on 10 years community supervision, orders him to pay restitution to Grand Saline ISD in the amount of $59,669.84. Orders that restitution is joint and several with judgments in cause number CR 24-3, CR 23-200, CR 23-201, and CR 23-216, the co-defendants in this case. In addition, the court assesses court costs in the amount of $290 and reimbursement fees in the amount of $570. Mr. Berkwin, I know that Mr. Manning has already discussed this with you, but I want to go over it again. You understand that you're going to be placed on community supervision, and if you don't meet the obligations that the court places upon you, you understand that you can be brought back to court for another hearing. And you understand that during that process, if the court finds that you violated any of the conditions of your community supervision, meaning if you do anything, if you drink alcohol, if you smoke weed, if you don't report, if you commit a new offense, if you don't pay restitution, if the court finds that there's evidence to prove those things under the law, then the court could do several things at that hearing, including convicting you of this offense, making you a convicted felon for the rest of your life, taking you off community supervision, and putting you in prison anywhere from the minimum 2 years up to a maximum 10 years in prison. You understand all of that? You understand how important these conditions of probation are? How old are you? 20. Did you graduate from Grand Saline ISD? You didn't. Did you go to school in Grand Saline? Where'd you go to school? Van. Did you graduate from Van? No. Did you drop out or get a GED? What'd you do? You're working on your GED. So you're a very young man, 20 years old, to be facing a potential prison sentence. You understand that? What my fear is that you walk out of here and that you don't take this serious. And if that happens, then and you come back before the court, the issue is not going to be whether or not you committed this crime. The issue is going to be whether or not you completed or complied with your probation conditions. And so I want to impress upon you the importance of each and every term of your probation. That means you owe a lot of restitution, $60,000 about, and that's going to be your co-defendants are also responsible. But you understand that if your co-defendants don't pay a single dime and they all go to prison, you're responsible for the whole 60,000. You understand that? That means that you're going to have a job that pays, that you can pay your restitution, your court costs, and your reimbursements. You understand that? That means for the next 10 years or till you complete all of these conditions, you're really going to have to make this case the priority in your life. It's not what you want to do on the weekends. It's not what you want to spend your money on. You got to take care of this first. Otherwise, you're going to be taken out of society potentially. You understand that? All right. Court hereby remands you to the custody of the probation department so they can carry out the terms and conditions of the sentence. I'm going to have you come forward to be fingerprinted with the deputy. Mr. Manning, did you sign the stipulation of evidence? I can't tell if you signed it or not.
It's,
We just come over here and I'll lend you a pen if you need it.
and before we do that, if I may, bolster this maybe just a little bit, during my court representation of Mr. Blackman, he has been diligently working and employed. In fact, several times that we met, he was actually working and driving right across the street and would take his lunch break to come over and discuss his case with me. Judge, as my client said, right now his life consists of going to work, going home to sleep. And I said, that's the way it's gonna have to be for a while. I said he may be tempted to go out and have some fun, do something that's stupid. I said, but balance. Judge, initially we did some budgeting, looked at the numbers, ran the numbers. He said that he is able to do that under his current situation. I explained to him the joint several liability for that restitution. And I also explained to him the DA's office is providing additional incentive that if he does take care of his business, if he does pay his portion of that restitution, if he does do the things he's supposed to, there's much more confidence to move him to some less restrictive probation or allow him to leave. So I told there's a fair stake there. And it's all involved at this point. He can take advantage of that opportunity to be even better in a situation, or he can just kind of move around and up against the wall there.
Well, I appreciate your wisdom and advice that you've given to Mr. Blackman. So, all right, Mr. Blackman, I'm gonna have you come up here and be fingerprinted and then meet with the probation officers and they'll tell you about what's next. You got Miss Marcus figured out? No?
Actually, it was on the person prior to the last court date. And she did it like the day before the court date. So she got it. I explained to her. She had to do this. It was due by July 5th. If not, she was served 3 days.
Miss Marcus. Okay. All right, Amber, so you've already talked with Ms. Burns, so I'm just gonna reiterate what she said. $65 of probation, $50 to court costs, 25 hours community service, all due by July 5th, okay? Or you're gonna get 1 day, you have to serve 1 day in jail for failure of each one. So you've got a potential 3 days in jail. So if you do 2 out of 3, then you got 1 day in jail. You do 1 out of 3, you got 2 days in jail, okay? So we're gonna come back on July 11th, have all that turned in by July 5th. The reason that these amounts, the reason you're doing 25 hours community service instead of 10, because you didn't do all your service when you should have at the beginning. So it's all backloaded on you now, so you're having to do more to get caught up. So if it seems arduous or hard, it's because it is. It's because you didn't do it in the beginning. Oh, I know it's different. Yeah,
It was faxed over on Monday, but it doesn't show on the computer.
yeah.
I just did 36.
Yeah. So the reason that the probation department says turn everything in by Friday before
Right.
is so that you have that time for those faxes, for the receipts to get posted, for time for them to be able to confirm all the things that you do, so that your life is easier, so that you can come in. I can confirm everything and I say, Amber, you're doing a great job. See you later.
Right.
But if we turn everything in late, then this is the situation we're in. I'm asking the firm, they're having to chase down, and that's why you're sitting in here waiting, okay? Any questions? All right, here, sign right there where it says, and then we'll give you a copy of that and see you back in July 11th. Sir.
What's the question? What do you got?
Oh, you already got?
Did one. Huh?
Five away?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll take it. I'll use that next time.
Okay.
When I research again.
I was gonna.
Yeah, that's cool. I'm not sure.
Somebody's reverberating.
That's true.
Magnetic personality. Here's Miss, there's Miss Heavy Pants. There's Miss Heavy Pants right there.
I don't know why, because we're fixing a plea to take this afternoon, I have just. Yesterday. Thanks not this. So. We met with her yesterday,
No, yesterday.
that's when we set her. Understand the reason.
When do you want to put her on? You want to put her on contested like July 30th? Give y'all time and then,
July or August, we've got offenses out of Dallas County that's gonna hold stuff.
let's just put her on July 30th and then. Cause I've got to have a hearing, so. If y'all don't have it resolved by then, it's fine.
That'll work. Do we have any news on Mr. Ashmore and his progress? Yeah.
I didn't write it all on there, but it's on the reset sheet if you want to get a copy of that.
Same kind of plea images. Woods.
No, he got reset today because his attorney's. Yeah. Mr. Castillo. All right, this is the sanctions court hearings, cause number CR 22-319. Understand you had car trouble this morning?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what happened?
Second time now.
Think it's battery or starter or what? All right, we'll try to make this quick so you can get back to work. Let's see. Last time you were to pay 65 towards your probation fees, $50 to your court collection fees, and 10 hours community service. It says that you didn't pay your probation fees or your court collection fees. Is that right or wrong?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
What happened on that?
Honestly, I couldn't pay it. Honestly. But I mean, everything, I'm trying to excuse it for a second, one thing I ever done.
But you did your community service?
I honestly didn't do either, but I know you spoke that. Yeah. If I did.
All right, so let's see. You just got put on in January, so if we try to get you back on the compliance path early on, and here we are, we're within 6 months, we might be able to get you caught up, but in order to do that, you're gonna have to pay more than your court order to. You're gonna have to do, community service, start getting caught up on your community service. You've got a 9 or 10 year period here, so you've got time to catch that up. Your probation fees, when you get behind on that, that'll add up. Okay, and there were a couple of probationers in here that are suffering through their consequences of not doing things early on, and now they're upset because they're having to pay more and do more, and it's because they didn't do it in the beginning, right? So this is what we'll do. I'll let you pick the 3 days in jail that you're going to do. All right, so you can work it around your work schedule. We're going to come back on July 11th. And I'm going to need you to pay $100 towards your probation fees so we can get you caught up. Okay. $75 to your court clerk so we can get you caught up. And on hours, I'll just keep you at 10 hours community service. Okay. So what I'll do is for each one of those is a day in jail. So if you don't pay $100, that's a day in jail. You don't pay 75 to your court collection fees, that's a day in jail. If you don't do your 10 hours community service, that's a day in jail. All right. So if you do 2 out of 3, you got 1 day in jail. If you do 1 out of 3, you got 2 days in jail. Does that make sense? Are you working?
Sir.
What do you do?
That's pretty start. Yes, I should.
Is that a pretty good job?
Sir.
Is that a pretty good job?
Job.
It's a job.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, is it pay pretty good, decently?
For a lot of hours.
You get overtime?
That's what he's saying.
That's good. So at least that'll help you get caught up, hopefully. All right, Mr. Abraham's going to bring you this reset. We'll have you sign that. See you back on July 11th. And Gustavo, I want you to have that stuff turned in by July 5th. All right. Now think about it. Today's already June 13th. So that's a lot of stuff that you got to get done pretty quick. All right.
Yes, sir.
So let's make that a priority.
Sir. Very much.
You're welcome. You got somebody taking you back? You got somebody bring you in because your truck.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
No, I'm talking about, and you need to come back here before you leave and pick your jail time. I'm just talking about, you got somebody bringing you in, you got somebody taking you back?
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. But like right now.
Oh, no,
We go to jail.
no. No, I wouldn't do that to you just yet. Yeah, come back here and pick your days and we'll sign that order and you'll be free to go.
Oh.
Oh, hang on. Yeah, let her pick her thing. So, hey, Not yet. Rachel, need you to come up here real quick. Go stand in that blue square right there. Stand in that blue square right there. You see it? Right there.
Yeah.
All right. It's my understanding today's your birthday? What are you, 45? 46? 48. Happy 48th birthday to Officer Ventura. Yeah, are we singing? Are we singing to Officer Ventura? Mr. Hartwell, are you a good singer? Go for it. I'm not.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday
Where
to
you going?
you. Hey, I can't see you.
I feel like that was sarcastic. That thank you was a sarcastic thank you. You're welcome. All right, I believe that concludes our morning criminal docket and the birthday celebration for Officer Rachel Ventura. And so we're going to stand in recess till 1:30.